Live shenanigans commencing. How's it going, folks? Hope you're doing all right. Unless you like things I don't, in which case I hope you rot in hell. No, I don't generally roll like that. But either way, let's see if we can get some interesting conversations going. Or, if not interesting, then at least enjoyable. Okay, let's try that again. Are we doing better now? Yeah. Significantly better. Okay. I'm not quite sure what's up with that. Hang on, let me try one more thing. I might drop out for a few seconds. Just want to try something. Okay. Okay, fine. One of those cases where nothing changed, but what worked before doesn't work anymore suddenly. For who knows what reason, but should be fixed now. Three streamers I want to watch are streaming now. If you can watch one of the other two, this is not going to be super exciting by any means. Just to tell you up front, don't have high expectations. I'm low energy. I just felt like having a chat with you folks. That's all. Topic, whatever you feel like. How's your health? Well, short answer, don't ask, because I don't want to be complaining, which is an answer. Have you watched Shogun, the recent series? I'm not even aware of it. May I ask a question? You just did. So clearly, yes. Ain't nobody gonna stop you. When are you coming to Italy? I have no plans. It would be interesting to explore Italy at some point, but as I said, no plans at the moment. Still in bed, being pinned down by a void? What did you do? How did you start a fight with a void? It's not generally advisable. What's your opinion on the Polish shepherd axe? I like it. I mean, any kind of iteration of that, whether it be Polish or Hungarian or whatever, this general type of axe that goes by a number of different names depending on which area. Yeah, they're all quite neat. Very much geared toward being practical in everyday life, including as a walking stick and all kinds of things. They're really quite small, very small axe head, which of course has pros and cons like everything. On the one hand, it's nice and fast. On the other hand, it's a really short edge, so precision is crucial. Thanks, Donnie. Cool crossbow vid. Avoiding dry fire was good info. Yeah, I figured. You know, even though it was just for visual spice for the intro, that made me think, you know what, I might as well show how to decoct them. Dry fire means you're shooting it without anything loaded. That applies to firearms the same as crossbows. So if you don't have a bolt in there, in fact, if you were to do the same with a bow, you know, draw the string back and let it go without an arrow notched, same thing. Because the energy that normally is absorbed by the bolt or arrow that's used to propel it forward, now the energy has to go somewhere. And so the bow or a crossbow has to absorb it. That's how you can increase wear and tear and even break it, or, you know, get cracks or something. Already plans for another video about the sword from the unboxing. Would love to see more of it. Yeah, of course. I mean, what do you think? It's not going to be the last time I show that. It's a gorgeous sword. Of course, it needs more exposure. I have to see what to do with it, because cutting right now isn't really on the table, you know, with how I've been doing. And I'm going to have to see exactly what I do with it. Otherwise, I guess more close-ups, more about the handling, comparing to historical originals, things like that, I suppose. Not really a topic, but a realization. Serrated blades are better for fighting monsters with regeneration, because messy wounds take longer to heal. Similar ideas with barbed wire basket arrows. Yeah. Not a bad thought. I mean, would it affect their regeneration? I don't know. Maybe. For like straight up healing factor, like Wolverine, it wouldn't matter, but like a light, you know, or less superpowered regenerative ability, perhaps. I'm also thinking, like, for regeneration, it would really suck to take an arrow, like any kind of arrow really, but particularly barbed, because, you know, you can't really, I mean, you might be able to just, if you do regenerate, you might be able to just brutally yank it out. You know, whatever damage happens doesn't matter at that point. But sometimes you might not even be able to pull it out. So then the healing would happen around it, and the point would stay in the body, presumably, right? What would you say is the video you had the most fun with? Probably, which one is that? Oh yeah, the throwing cross comes to mind, because I just like doing the Castlevania skit, and the one about super speed. I quite like that too. The fight scenes for the intro. You know, it's cheesy green screen crap, but I like how it turned out. And the one about Rust Monster, that was also a fun one to make. There's a bunch of videos that were a lot of fun to make. They'd have an arrow stuck in their body, like I've had this pencil graphite stuck in my hand since grad school. Oh, you too? Yeah. I have a little graphite dot tattoo as well from a classmate being a dumbass. Oh yeah, true. Wolverine's healing factor actually pushes foreign bodies out as the body's healing. So yeah, that may not necessarily be an issue, depending on how the healing works. I remember when you're yourself in a castle underwater in space. Yeah, in response to one comment. That's so long ago. That was what, like 2013? That's a long time ago. Good question. Could Wolverine get a tattoo? I feel like probably not. I would think his body would probably reject that. It would definitely reject piercings. Tattoos? Yeah. I think so. I love that the graphite tattoo thing is such a universal experience. Yeah, it's easy enough to happen. Yeah, maybe there's some kind of workaround. Maybe you could get like a tattoo with adamantium ink or something. I don't know. Adamantium particles. How do you even get that to particle form with how indestructible that stuff is? I mean, then again, you can liquefy it at extreme temperatures, right? Anyway. Once heard the question of, what if Sonic gets cancer? Would the rings protect him, cure him? Would the rings consider the cancer cells as part of Sonic? Oh boy, that I mean, that's kind of what makes cancer such a big deal, right? It's like it's your own body. It's just a malfunction. I don't know. Maybe the rings caused it. I don't know. Magneto can extract adamantium from Wolverine. Yeah, in a very brutal, painful way. Something that I recently noticed is that you and Scholar Gladiatoria are the only two historical channels so I don't look back at myself watching and cringe. A lot of those channels fell off a lot. I mean, so you cringed at yourself for having watched some other channels? Wouldn't you cringe at them if it makes you feel that way? I don't know. Although, no, I guess I get what you mean. If you kind of grew out of it and then you look back like, oh, how could I ever like that? Guess that makes sense. I need someone with historical knowledge to explain to me why Molotov cocktails were not used in the Middle Ages. Simple answer is they just didn't think of it. That's what I would guess. It's more like, why would they have done it earlier than they did? It's like, yeah, they could have. They could have filled a bottle with alcohol, put a rag in and set it on fire. Sure, they could have. They just didn't. Didn't think of it. That's what I'm guessing. I mean, how well do they even actually work when it's just alcohol? And what percentage does it need? Because if I'm not mistaken, like they're properly done with gasoline, right? Or some other more flammable substance. Let me see. I can't say I've really looked into that in detail. Yeah, some flammable substance, of course. But what's usually used? Yeah, I mean, it can be anything, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how effective the alcohol would have been that they had. Because now you might use rubbing alcohol or something. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't even talk about that because that can be misconstrued as giving instructions, which I'm not. Not condoning the use or the making of such devices or anything like that, but yeah, you know how it is. I don't know if Googling it gets you on a watch list. I mean, yeah, it's also like a lot of stuff was quite flammable to begin with. Fires were a huge threat in the Middle Ages. Like so many buildings were lost to fires, and sometimes they spread quite aggressively throughout the city, not just because of a lot of flammable materials used, but also because they didn't have effective firefighters in an organized way, and fire trucks and all that. Did you see the semi-automatic crossbows I sent? I did not. Where did you send that? Yeah, I know. The pivoting into politics is... I can only shake my head at that, Jim. In feudal Japan, the penalty for arson was always burning at the stake. For this exact reason, everything was highly flammable. Yeah, it's quite a serious, highly destructive offense. Lindy is teetering on the edge? What do you do? Huh? I haven't heard anything. Yeah, it is. I keep seeing certain people brought up over and over again. Like, a lot of you are really bothered by that, I can tell. It keeps coming up, very much unprompted. There seems to be a lot of frustration. No gossip from me. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to talk about other people. I have my opinions, but I keep them to myself. The only weird thing about Lindy Beige that I noticed is I mean, unless it's just the notifications being random, which very well could be, it seems like he goes just for a long time without posting, and then he tends to post a bunch of videos, like one after the other, shortly, and they're about all kinds of different things. Like, you never know. It could be something completely random at the moment that you wouldn't expect. I mean, I used to be more random too. What's the point of having an opinion if you can't inflict it on others? Well, the thing is, like, you don't have to force every opinion down other people's throat. You know, that's why I don't go on political rants or whatever. And I've never really liked talking about other people who aren't there to defend themselves, you know, like to respond to whatever complaints or criticisms or accusations there might be. Just feels kind of wrong to me, you know. Now, it's a different story if it's people in power. Very different story. Also, I feel like with a platform comes a responsibility. You're not really in the same spot as someone on a park bench yelling at politics. Yeah, that's true. That is true. You know, influencer, quote unquote. Yeah, you do have a certain amount of influence. And, you know, every little thing you say that's wrong, yeah, someone else might just run with it uncritically. Even though I've often said, hey, I'm not an expert, I don't know everything, I can very well be wrong, I am often wrong about things. I mean, I don't know if it's often. I try to avoid it being often, but it definitely happens. And when you go on, I don't know, especially when you just run on internet rumors, like, oh, this person did that and this and that, and unless I take the time to verify that and like look into it, okay, is this really what happened? What did that person actually say and do? And you can't just on a stream you can just go on a rant. I mean, you can, but it's going to be less accurate generally, you know. And even if I have strong opinions on certain things and maybe people, as well. I try to be aware that, hey, this is my bias. You know, how biased exactly? I don't know. But I could very well have the wrong impression, and yeah. It's one thing if you're wrong privately. It's a very different thing if you go public with it. Does that make sense? And particularly when I have a strong opinion, I know that there's some emotional bias. You know, when you feel strongly about something, you run the risk of being less accurate, right? Not that that matters when you're talking about moral principles and such. That's a whole different story. You can absolutely feel strongly about what's wrong or right, and be outspoken about it. But I just don't like to do politics here. You know, it's messy. I would love to see a video on how effective a pitchfork would be as a weapon, but maybe it's too similar to a trident. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I covered tridents in detail in a video, and I feel like a pitchfork is just a less durable, weaker version of a trident. So there's that. Yeah, inflated egos on the internet, that's definitely a thing. That's why you know, that's a big part of what makes me so cautious with things, because I've seen too many examples of people with way overblown egos on the internet who are insufferable and who are really good anti-role models. You know, just look at that like, okay, you know what? This person is such a giant douche with such a ego problem that I can pretty much go at, okay, whatever that person says and does, I want to do and say pretty much the opposite because of that. It's kind of like what's the term? Yeah, I don't know. A gauge of how likely you are to be in the wrong, that kind of thing. I don't know. Anyway, you get the idea. Will you bring back those weapon design contests? Probably not. Last time I did it, it left kind of a bad taste because of a lot of the behaviors of people. You know, particularly like all the whining about the winners and like how they shouldn't have won and blah blah blah, and a lot of shitty attitudes. And that's one thing, but this is actually something that Largady pointed out just yesterday. I agree, we were talking about that, and something I haven't thought of before, which is that if I did the same thing now, there would be so much AI slop in there. I hadn't thought of that before. You made a very good point. And the problem is, at this point, it's advanced enough that it can be quite hard to tell. And I would 100% absolutely not want to risk having a winner who just submitted some AI crap, you know? That's just no. Absolutely not. Even if it's not crap, like it's just no, you cheated. This is not your design. And I would not be okay with that. So, yeah, unfortunately, certain things just ruin the fun. AI slop is killing everything that involves any level of creativity. Yeah, unfortunately, I have to largely agree with that. There are absolutely legitimate uses for AI, but this generative art stuff, aka industrialized plagiarism, I'm not okay with that. I mean, I'd be fine with it if it was trained ethically, you know, on non-copyrighted material, and if it's used for like very specific things where you still do a lot of the work. Like, for example, if you use it to shade your artwork. Like, let's say you drew something, you did the basic colors, and then you let the AI do the shading. I'm fine with that. That's not a bad use. It's rather sad. Instead of honing their craft with time and effort, people are taking the sloppy, lazy route and calling it good enough. And I mean, I've ranted about that before, but just to reiterate, I really hate when prompt engineers, or whatever the hell they call themselves, create slop, and then they act like they're an artist. Like, no, you're not. This does not make you an artist. This is like paying someone to make art for you, an actual artist, and then showing that off like, I made this. No, you didn't. You commissioned it. You told them how you want it to be done, and they did it. Except it's even worse because you're not even supporting an artist, so fuck that. That's how I look at that. Yeah, prompt operators. I use the toilet. That doesn't make me a plumber. I like that. That's a good comparison. Thanks, Barry. Love your content. Thank you for all you do. You're welcome. Prompt engineer. I sat and threw a tantrum at a machine for 2 hours until it did what I wanted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like bringing your car to a shop and telling them, "Oh, I want it painted such and such a way," and then when it's done, you're like, "Yeah, I did this. Look at this sweet paint job I did, bro." Oh yeah, and the worst is when they try to make money with it, try to sell this shit. It's like, come on. It stole from real artists and now you want money for it? Fuck you. How about that? Video idea. Would maces or flails be more effective at destroying AI servers? That would be a fun one to try out. That would get me in trouble, but it would be fun. I mean, one can speculate, hypothetically, Not saying I would or you should or anyone, but, hypothetically, which one would be better? I feel like flail, actually. Data centers seem a bit cramped for flails. That is an argument for flails, though. They do take up less space than the same length or rigid mace or any other weapon. I assume mace, more force. Okay, you need to watch my flail versus mace test video. You might learn something. Just saying. Teacher IRL here, you have no idea how many kids submit their assignments written with AI these days. Oh, I'm aware. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that it's a rampant problem for sure. It worries me for the future. Yeah. Also, I've heard teachers talk about how, frankly, brain dead the kids are in school now. I hate to be the old man ranting at the cloud or whatever, but it is concerning. It is quite concerning how little intellectual prowess they have. Okay, this will maybe a bit too overblown of a term, but how bad they are at critical thinking skills and how lazy they are intellectually. They have to. Everything needs to be fed to them, and it's just using nothing but crutches. It's not good. It doesn't bode well. No attention span. Even for non-ADHD kids. I mean. Yeah, no ability to figure things out on their own or no motivation to. Just, yeah, sucks. Parents not parenting, indeed. They just hand them a smartphone, here, occupy yourself, I don't want to deal with you. Why the hell do you have kids then? You shouldn't. It's awful. Now, you're not the old man ranting about this generation. I'm 21, and even I feel that way about the kids in school and how lacking they are in critical thinking and basic skills. Yeah, there you go. Artificial intelligence creates genuine stupidity. It definitely contributes to it, yeah. Lazy brains is what it contributes to. Yeah, and I don't know, doesn't look like it's going to improve anytime soon, but who knows. Would you like to make a video with Laser Pig or one of his fellow? I have no idea. Don't know who that is. Yeah, even my AI girlfriend is terrified. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's another thing. And I mean, people are, like even millennials are not as good at forming connections, IRL, and having communities and all of that, especially compared to generations before them. But it seems like that's only getting worse. Like, people are highly connected in these more or less superficial ways online. I mean, not necessarily superficial. You can have good friends online that you interact with a lot and all that, but it's just still like face-to-face interactions are a different kind of mode. And there's certain skills that you learn by doing that you don't get online. Things like reading facial expression and tone of voice and body language and all of that. I don't have an actual AI girlfriend, just to make it clear. Yeah, I figured that was just for the joke. AI psychosis, that's the other thing, where people just go way down the rabbit hole, and AI sometimes just doesn't have the safety stops it should, or maybe it does and they're being circumvented, and then AI tells people to off themselves and whatnot and do really dangerous things. It's wild. And again, no critical thinking skills. They just listen to it or read it and whatever and believe it. It's absurd. And again, it's not all bad. There are good uses too. It's just, yeah, the bad that comes with it is quite concerning. Thanks, Christoph. Sorry. You have great takes on fantasy. For example, which weapons could each creature use? I wonder if you wanted to write a fantasy novel. Wish you good health and keep up the good work. First off, thanks for the well wishes, and I will. Writing a novel. For a while, my standard answer was, I don't have the time. No way. Now, these days, with my health being what it is, energy is actually more of a problem than time, because I've been forced to scale back time investment because I crash too hard and it keeps getting worse. So I have to conserve energy. And now I could do that, but I don't think I have the patience. I did actually at one point start writing something, but I couldn't stick with it. My problem is I'm the kind of, my modus operandi is generally bursts. I get into this manic hyper productivity mode where I just crank stuff out, but then I have to be done with it. Any project can't drag on too long, because the longer it goes on without me completing it, the more I run out of steam and motivation and interest, and until eventually it's like, oh, fuck it, whatever. And then I have to try the same. not the same. I have to try something new. I have to start the next project, you know. So I would never complete it. Like, just realistically, I don't think I would ever complete it. Okay, I might cut out for a moment. I just want to try something here with the connection. Hang on. Are we good? No, we're not good, are we? Does that work better? We're doing better now? Yes. There we go. That's better. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. Just writing anything at all personally did a lot for me. Start with short scenes in somewhat the same world. Just feels nice to do it and doesn't have to turn into a book. Yeah, I guess so. I suppose so. It's just, I don't think I'm much of a writer. And results can be cringy if you aren't. You know, some people who wrote a book maybe shouldn't have because the result is questionable. I'm sure you can think of a number of examples. Yeah, of course, there is an example. I figured you'd have someone on top of your head. George R. R. Martin never gonna finish Game of Thrones. You might not. Yeah. If if Stephen King had written Game of Thrones, it would have been done 10 years ago, and it would be like 10 follow-up books already. You know, I mean, not follow-up, but you know, more volumes. Man is an enigma when it comes to writing. Yeah, there's no possible way to please the fans, so I get his reluctance. And there's probably a lot of burnout involved too. Must be the going, stay safe. Just remember we're here for the content, but we stay because of you. I mean, some people. Anyway, you take care. It is definitely, no. I don't want to talk about it. I will stick to my resolution of not complaining about the technical shit anymore and numbers and views and all of that. I might, if I comment on that at all, I might derail into it, and I don't want to. I'm going to leave it be. I just want to do my thing. Yeah, I just want to, make the videos that I want to make and, do something I care about and let the, what the hell's the saying? Let the what fall where they may? Not the dice. Why can't I not remember? Chips, thank you. The chips fall where they may. Yeah. I don't know why I was blanking on that. It happens. Let the chocolate chip cookies fall where they may. Yeah, let the crisps fall where they may in the UK. Indeed. Cool that you're sticking to decisions/resolutions you make. Hey, wait. It hasn't been that long. I'll try. But it has not been very long. And I guess the one thing I'll say about that is I really should just mention Patreon more often. And I still don't like doing it, but it's important. Makes a big difference. Same as with super chats, they're always highly appreciated. You know, I don't stream to milk donations. It's nice. You know, it helps when they happen, but I don't want to be chasing after them and bother you folks because not only is everyone's budget limited, it's also just like, it's kind of obnoxious. And this is really one of the main reasons why I don't like to even mention Patreon. It's because there's so many people on YouTube, right? And you're not subscribed to only one channel. There's so many. People are subscribed to dozens and hundreds, some maybe even thousands of channels. I don't know. And if they all ask you to sign up, it's not happening. You know, you have to be very careful with your expenses. So it's just too much, you know. Everyone keeps pestering you about it, but unfortunately it is necessary. Anyway, that's all I'll say. My brain is still processing that is 2026. For me, it's kind of weird. On the one hand, 2025 seemed to be dragging on, but on the other hand, it was also over quickly. I can't really make up my mind. So in other words, it progressed as usual. You know, time progresses the way it does, and your subjective experience may change, but just depends on how you look at it. I guess the more you remember, the longer the year seems. Whereas if you're just kind of in the everyday grind where every day is the same, then it's going to seem much shorter. Love when videos aren't 50% advertisement. Yeah, these days I tend to check, because sometimes I've seen the automatic ad slots that YouTube puts in are insane. It's like a 15-minute video can have like 6 ad breaks or more. It's like, what the hell? And sometimes YouTube automatically puts an ad break like 2 minutes in. It's like, what the hell? This is way too much. It's like, I feel like there should be at least 5 minutes in between. You know? Otherwise, it's just obnoxious. '25 was a very fascinating year for me. A lot happened, both good and bad. It will forever be a pivotal year. Yeah, I guess pivotal, I could call it too, just not in a good way. because even though the fatigue issues and like general health shenanigans have been going on for a long time, it definitely got significantly worse at the end of last year. That was a steep decline. I still have no idea why. I wish I did. I wish I could prevent it, or I mean, ideally reverse it, but prevent further worsening. Oh, is that venturing into complaining already? I don't know. I feel like this is still an objective observation, but I don't want to start complaining. You know? What a cool dude. Yeah, I can see the sarcasm dripping off of that without even any indication. Mm-hmm. Anyway. Objective observations, the gateway to complaining. You're not wrong. You know, pessimism and realism, there's quite an overlap. Thanks, Mr. Steve. I can't give much, but I do like your content. Thank you. If you have financial constraints, please don't. I don't want to... Like, I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything. It's your decision, but I'd like to encourage you not to donate if you're dealing with a tight budget. You know, I appreciate the sentiment, but please take care of yourself first and foremost. You know what else is fascinating and pivotal? The Black Plague. Yeah, true. Oh, you are not being sarcastic about it? Okay, fair enough. I read it as sarcasm. Because so many people, when they're being sarcastic, they don't indicate it. It's just text, and then they're surprised when you misinterpret it. You know? Anyway. That's why I prefer emojis for dubious texts. Yeah, just... There are tools for that to indicate sarcasm or whatever else. You know, the things that text don't. Doesn't. Whatever. Words. Who cares? What about the monk's spade question? I didn't see that. What was it about? Yeah. If you alternate upper lower caps, it does that too. Yeah, there are plenty of tools, but some people just don't use them. They just expect you to read their mind over the internet or whatever. A Clint Eastwood character taught a kid how to be a man by making him listen to older people gripe about their lives and their bills. All right. I could see that. It's an exercise in not only patience, but also empathy and, you know, considering someone else's perspective and trying to learn from others and all of that. It's like, yeah, it seems trivial, but it makes a lot of sense. Sorry, I wasn't emoting properly. No, don't feel accused. I wasn't trying to rag on you because it wasn't even sarcasm. It's just I was just saying that a lot of people, use it without indicating it, and that's why my expectation is to like suspect it more. But you didn't. I mean, that's what you say at least. I'm going to trust you on that for now. I'm up for Scale Gaming Channel. I tried, but I couldn't keep up with it. Mr. Super Chat, I did. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. The Monk's Spade question was a Super Chat. How the hell did I not see that? Okay, so thank you, Magnifico Giganticus. And again, sorry for overlooking that. Have you ever reviewed a Monk's Spade? I have not. I would love to. The only thing is, most of the ones that you see on the market are just wushu, so with the floppy blades, so not functional. If I could get a functional one, I mean, I suppose I could ask someone to make one, like Rick or. I mean, if Rick made it, it would be super awesome and very expensive for good reason. He does amazing work. How do you feel today? Not great. Been a rough one. I don't know why it's called Monk's Spade. I mean, probably because it looks like a spade and was supposedly used by monks. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't go that deep. Hope you get better these days. Happen, yeah. Well, the problem is it's most days. I mean, it's like it's a cycle, in the sense that. So, like, when I rest more, I feel better. When I feel better and have more energy, I do more because I gotta get shit done, right? So then I, pour myself into making videos and such with more energy to not just be lethargic on camera. And then afterwards, I crash because I use too much. And then I feel worse for a while, and then when I feel better, I again overreach, and then it keeps going. But there's not really any way around it. So at least I can still, Gotta look at the bright side, because some people are in real bad. Like this can come in all kinds of severity levels. Any advice on lost friendships? I don't think I'm the right person to ask because, especially these days, I'm not very good at keeping up with people, unfortunately. Particularly, I'm also not good at keeping up like over long distance because I'm more of a face-to-face person. I prefer to interact with people in person. It's a little more difficult for me online, and I have good friends I like. They're far away, and I don't talk to them as much as I'd like because it's just online. So yeah, maybe someone else can give you advice in the chat. Because the thing is also like, the worse I feel, the less energy I have, the more of a hermit I become. Because interacting with people also takes energy. So, yeah. It's hard to know what you say when someone has an ongoing condition, because hope you get well soon is standard but does not fit. That's true, yeah. Hope you find ways to manage it better, I guess. That might be a more accurate way. But, I mean, it's a sentiment that counts. Like, you can still appreciate that. Even if you know that you're not going to get well significantly anytime soon, most likely, you can still be like, yeah, thanks. I appreciate the well wishes, I've lost friends because my sickness made it so hard. Every time I have to answer the same question, got so tiring. Just don't talk to me about it. Yeah. And then, of course, also when people want to do things with you and you're like, I'm sorry, I just feel like shit today. I can't. They may not take it well. Because it's hard to understand. It's like everybody gets tired. When they've done a lot, they get exhausted, they get tired. It's normal. Everybody gets sick sometimes. But feeling sick 24/7 is a very different thing. Anyway. Again, not trying to be negative. Hopefully, I'll figure something out that improves things. I'll keep trying. That's for sure. Something I think is important is to try to learn to stop caring about things that don't really matter. Yeah, and generally prioritize. There's just too many things that you can spend time and energy on that are just not important enough to justify the expense, You may feel guilty for not doing them, but you have to prioritize sometimes. And that applies to healthy people as well, because some folks overreach way too much. They can't say no to things. They keep taking on more and more responsibilities to the point where they just can't handle it. They're just constantly stressed. They're burned out. They can't keep up. It's not good for anyone. Thanks, Elite Beaver. That's a great name. Hatchet or short sword for bedside home defense? Thoughts? You could definitely make an argument for either. I think I'd lean toward the short sword because axes are really good at damage output, do a lot of damage with little effort, and they're good against armor and all that. It's not a concern here, really. I mean, the good thing about the hatchet would be you can turn around and deliver blunt strikes, less lethal. Still going to be a pretty hard-hitting thing, but less so than the edge. Having suffered fibromyalgia for several decades, there will be times when doing something's bad for you, pacing is much better. Yeah. That's another somewhat similar condition that they're putting a lot of research into. So that's something I would recommend, to look at what kind of research is being done, because it can make you more hopeful to see, like, okay, we're not out of ideas, we're not out of things to try, not by any means, and they're working on it. So it's encouraging. Yeah, Gladius machete, something like that, is pretty good. I mean, there's so many things you can say about potential options for home defense, with their own pros and cons, and particularly legal issues to consider, legal and ethical as well. Because, like, a sharp and pointy blade has much more potential for causing serious harm, as does an axe, obviously. And you have to figure out, are you okay with that? With what might come after? Like, I would generally definitely advise less lethal options. But of course, I understand the concern, and sometimes it may not be enough to stop a threat, and then, you're compromising your odds. Having options is good, yeah. I mean, I suppose it can be a bad thing too, because if you have a wealth of options, in the heat of the moment, under stress, it might be difficult to make a decision, It might be. Choice paralysis, yes. And yeah, generally they want your stuff, not your life, yes. I mean, a lot of the time just confronting an intruder will scare them off, but not always. There have been cases where, like, an actual altercation happens. Good old baseball bat, yeah, there is that. If the other guy picks one of the weapons, you can have a duel for the ages, though. Finally, a worthy opponent. I mean, probably not. If they're breaking into your home, it's probably not a worthy opponent in any way. Personally, though, I'd always use pepper spray first. It's a good option, yeah. I mean, indoors, it depends on which type you use, but it can be more of an issue. But then again, not necessarily. As said, there are different types. Yeah, the gel version. That's right. Big cannon full of grape shot, yeah. Ruin everything. Wreck your entire home. That'll teach them. Start inhaling the pepper spray and start panicking. I mean, you might be able to scare them off if you just show up and you use the pepper spray like, to freshen your breath. Let's go, motherfucker. And they're like, oh, what? I mean, I suppose you could dress up something harmless like pepper spray, see if they buy it. But chances are they might not. If you don't spray them and they feel like, oh shit, this is actual pepper spray. But at that point, you've used it, so whatever. You might as well just use it. I got bear maced at the bus depot for telling people to not smoke meth. Yikes. How dare you tell anyone what to smoke? Yeah, I've heard of cases like that where the spray is not used by the good guy exactly. The best home defense is a series of comical but lethal situational traps. Yeah. Go Macaulay Culkin on their ass. Sounds good. Just get a cat. The chance of tripping over the cat in the dark is basically 100%. Yeah. And also particularly if you go up and down the stairs and the cat insists on weaving in between your legs, right? Sometimes I wonder if that's a scheme. If the cat is trying to get you to accidentally kick it or step on it so that it can then do the whole drama show like, oh, I can't believe you would do this to me, human. And then you spoil them. Maybe it's a ploy. How dare you step on me? You must make up for it now. Spray your own eyes intentionally and scream, witness me. I mean, it would definitely work for seeming absolutely batshit insane, but you'll be out of it. Ever thought it depends on a shirt? Yeah, well, it kind of needs a little bit more than that. I wouldn't want just the text. But I'm not sure what to add, what kind of design. They don't sleep, they plot. I mean, they definitely plot if they don't sleep. No, I wasn't going to say it depends on the shirt suggestion. I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of design I would come up with, but that's a bit much. Oh, sorry. Tired. As usual. Sometimes I do wonder, like, why do I even decide to stream? I'm just sitting here like, I'm barely awake. But we've had some nice conversations, so it works out okay, I guess. Yeah, sometimes we have intriguing conversations about cats and whatnot. It do be like that. Yep, the feline overlords, indeed. YouTube is pretty cool for stuff like this, being able to interact with a content creator you watch. Yeah, I guess it is a different experience, right? As opposed to the video, which is, I mean, I'm not responding directly, and you don't get all the little brain malfunctions and loading times and all that fun stuff. Thank you, Villain Troll. We love you and we'll support easy content like stand-up comedy about mall ninjas. Must be funny. I suppose I could do that. I mean, I have done a comedy video before that is sort of like stand-up. It was a rant. What was the? I think it was a rant about stupid questions. Yeah. Sometimes I do stuff like that. It's one of the very few instances where I actually wrote a script. That's very rare. It's weird that this live was in my notifications, but not your recent videos. That is just ridiculous. Yeah. Counterproductive. Oh well. I mean, yeah, true. Normally it's treated separately. Normally live videos are in a different category than videos, but who knows? Miss the old Blade Shop comedy. Yeah, I know. A while ago, I tried to do another episode, and I was working on it, and I kept thinking like, nah, I don't quite like this, and then I played around with different ideas, like different characters and whatnot, and wrote some dialogue, because that's one of the other few instances where I do actually write it out. And it just, I don't know. I didn't feel it, so to speak. I just wasn't quite happy with it. I might give it another try at some point. The crossbow video was awesome. Thank you. I definitely liked making it. Yeah, the small sword skit, that's another one. I had fun with that one too. I appreciate you talking about I play SF6. Alright. Yeah, that's definitely one of those games that you can easily listen, or you can listen to something or someone meanwhile, no problem. Thank you, some person. Always supportive. I like it. I wouldn't say the algorithm is a menace. It's based on how we all react and click on videos. Not a conscious thing making choices. Yeah, of course. And sometimes it's easy to personify it, but it's not how that is. Thank you, Pretzel. When does it go from a dagger to a short sword? That is entirely up to you. You cannot set a hard line. There is always a bit of gray area in between. But generally, I'm of the opinion that it's best to not set it in like absolute measurements, but rather in like body part percentages, or not percentage, but like if you say something like a dagger is up to the length of your forearm, or like from your elbow to the fingertips, like total length. I guess from your elbow to wrist would be blade length, but it could be longer daggers. Part of it is also how it's used. Oh yeah, someone just pointed that out. Yeah, exactly. Because part of it is with a dagger, like medieval dagger in particular, with how they are generally used. If you can't use it in an ice pick grip, tip down, if it's too long for that, then well, it's probably not a dagger. But what is too long to use for that? Again, it's easy when it's quite a bit too long. What is just a little bit too long? That gets difficult to quantify. Huh, interesting. Before your crossbow vid, I couldn't care too much about them. Yet talking about the different mechanisms kind of fired some neurons. You experienced neuron activation. Yeah. Sometimes it's just a different way to handle a topic, to talk about it, that just suddenly makes you go, oh, actually, that is kind of interesting. Yes, it depends. It always does. And you know it. So yeah, for a taller person with longer arms, something might be a dagger that would start to be a short sword for someone else, maybe. Sell sword art, study video / shorts about the difference between dagger / short sword, and basically made the same points, just with more cringe. They like to go ham on it. They kind of, the overacting is definitely part of the channel in like a very deliberate goofball comedy sort of way. I get what they're doing. It's a bit much for my taste, but hey, I totally get it. I mean, I do it to an extent, just I don't go as far. You know, it's just all personal preference. Oh, I can't stop yawning. Damn it. Ever check out that Arn dagger from Albion? I have not, personally. Cedarlore Forge rings a bell. Have I seen your work before? I think I have. Gotta refresh my memory. Oh yeah. That's very nice carving work on that handle there. Get some more pictures. Oh yeah. I like that one. Let me just quickly pull that up. That's quite nice. What do you folks think? I like that a lot, the contrast between the green and the copper, and then the dark steel. That's very nicely done. Pretty indeed, yeah. Are you a Tifa or an Aerith kind of guy? Tifa. I don't know what that says about me, but that's how it be. Oh crap, I just saw a comment that I wanted to finish reading, but now it's gone. Such is the nature of live streams. King's Field was one of the few PS2 games I couldn't get used to the wonky camera. Yeah, back then camera work was often rough. Controls like I'm trying to punch someone in a dream. Yeah. Yeah, controls and cameras were... They hadn't quite figured it out yet. In some cases. I mean, I say that, but at the same time... Mario 64 was perfectly good, like functioned quite well on both accounts, so Recently, I've installed King's Field on emulator. Any tips for newbie? I don't know. It's been forever since I played King's Field. In fact, the one I played was the original 1994 version on the PS1. And I must have played it like in 96 or something. It's a very long time ago. I bet it hasn't aged well. I like my tater tots crispy. Okay, me too. I don't know why you felt the need to point it out, but I agree. Thanks, Deadbeat Husband. I'm looking for the Elkitchen New Way doll, and they offer mono steel and pattern welded steel options, but the price difference is only 20 euros. Oh, really? Which one would you go for? It depends, of course, on whether you want it more as a collector's piece or more as something practical for cutting practice and whatnot. If you want to cut with it, I would say mono steel, but pattern well, it looks nicer. So for collecting purposes, yeah, if you want it for matte cutting, I would recommend. Not that it's a problem. You can absolutely use the pattern welded one for cutting. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I find they can stain a little more. That would just be my personal recommendation. Isn't the original King's Field only Japanese? No, I remember not playing it in Japanese. Wait, hang on. Supposedly it only released in Japan, yeah. I wonder if I'm confusing it with something. I feel like that's what I played, but okay, yeah. The PAL version, that looks familiar. Yeah, that is what I played. All right. Oh, yeah, definitely. Looking at some of the screenshots, I remember. No, clearly it was released outside of Japan. Yeah, that's really the main thing with pattern welded. If you scratch it up and you want to fix the scratches, you want to polish them out, you're gonna lose the pattern welded finish. Because if you polish it, it's gonna go away. Then you would have to re-etch it to bring it out again. So yeah, that's really the main thing. What was your favorite kind of sword? Longsword. See? It does not depend. Sometimes. And I guess I should say longsword / Kriegsmesser. Yeah, I'm just boring like that, you know? Longsword is like the mainstream thing in HEMA. Everybody does longsword. Yeah. And you just asked what my favorite is. Like, if I have to pick one, I like a lot of types. Would you consider a Kriegsmesser a longsword loophole for medieval laws? That's a misconception. It was more about um, guilds used like specialized in certain things, and you know the kind of guild that a commoner would go to get a sword from would be different than the ones who made swords for knights. So commoners could have double-edged swords. It's not like it was illegal as such. Although there were also laws about carrying weapons within city limits, and sometimes you might get away with like a very short messer. What if someone brought a katana to HEMA? It'd be a bit weird to do some of the techniques with it. Some things definitely don't work the same, unsurprisingly. I mean, you can sort of use Kriegsmesser techniques. Again, not quite, because there are some things that rely on that particular guard that you... I'm not sure you could really do that with a katana. I mean, you could try, it just wouldn't really work the same way. Favorite pole arm halberd. Definitely not a late 1800s officer saber. Yeah, generally not really my thing. Anyway, I'm gonna have to throw in the towel. The headache and dizziness is getting a bit too rough to continue holding conversations and be halfway engaging and make sense and all that. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you had a good time. Thanks for the conversations and super chats and everything. I'll see you next time. You take care.